English stories. The Sparrow and the Peacock Story. Once upon a time, there was a sparrow that lived in a forest. This sparrow would now visit the king of the birds every day. This sparrow was always the first to leave and the last to return. Then, one day, a small flock of birds gathered on a certain peak. One of the assembly's birds said they needed a new king. "There are quite a few of us. And we're all different, and only a king can bring us all together," one of the birds explained. As a result, the sparrow proceeded to offer his advice. All the birds discussed together and announced that the king would be a peacock. In the discussion, the smart sparrow played a crucial role. That sparrow used to come every day since the peacock was now the king. After the other birds agreed and the peacock was named king, the peacock appointed the sparrow as secretary and the wazir. He started providing the peacock with food and drink. The sparrow then failed to appear at the scheduled hour one day. The peacock was concerned about this. When the sparrow came, the peacock inquired as to where he had gone. The peacock was informed that the sparrow had been startled. "I noticed a man near my house today while I was leaving my house. He was rigging nets and scattering grains. As a result, I stood and watched." The crane and his wife then proceeded to pick up the grains after a time. Then they were unexpectedly ensnared in the net. The hunter whisked them away to his house as they began to weep. "I'm terrified. I'm not going to remain there any longer," the sparrow declared. The peacock, on the other hand, assured the sparrow that everything was in his hands and that he should not leave his house for such a trivial problem. The sparrow trusted the peacock and went back to his home. The peacock, on the other hand, assured the sparrow that everything was in his hands and that he should not leave his house for such a trivial problem. The sparrow trusted the peacock and went back to his home. But, ever since that day, the sparrow has taken extra precautions whenever he leaves the house. One day, when the sparrow was on his way to the peacock's residence, he came across two sparrows fighting. The sparrow couldn't tolerate it any longer when they fought, so he went to make amends with the other two sparrows. However, as soon as the sparrow walked between the other two, a net was thrown at them. They were also entrapped. When the hunter picked them up, he urged his assistant to pay special attention to the peacock's wazir, a sparrow, and said, "He's the heaviest bird I've ever seen." The poor bird realized he was doomed. When the hunter picked them up, he urged his assistant to pay special attention to the peacock's wazir, a sparrow, and said, "He's the heaviest bird I've ever seen." The poor bird realized he was doomed. What an idiot I was to trust the peacock.